in, I think it was 1987, the International Joint Commission ruled that there were 43 really significant toxic hotspots on the Great Lakes. And this kayak trip is based on what they have done in the St. Louis River area of concern over several years, where they've held kayak tours of maybe not the entire area of concern because it is so large, but different sections each year. And what are the issues, what needs to be done, etc., etc. They're in calmer waters there because they're up in this sort of river estuary. What caused Thunder Bay to be called an area of concern and a toxic hotspot? Discharges from the forest industry, urban development, including hardened shorelines, where you'll see, you know, long stretches of shore that'll be all cemented. So any habitat that was there has been cemented over and it's gone.
So first off, I'm really excited to get on the water with all of you guys today. We have a great mix of sea kayaks, everything from a two-piece to an inflatable to a wooden boat. So it's kind of neat that as a community of paddlers, we've all come together. My biggest concern tonight is the winds, and I think it's pretty good tonight. It's blowing offshore, which means we're not going to get a good chop. One thing I'm going to ask is that everyone stays in a group. If everyone keeps an eye out on everyone else, I think everything's going to go smoothly and we'll have a great trip.
Okay, we good?
Yes, sir.
This is Sanctuary Island, and it was a restoration project that was undertaken as part of the RAP program. It was completed in 1993, and it cost at the time about $600,000. So when they built the marina, there was a small wetland at the mouth of McVicker Creek, which is maybe 100 meters over here. We're going to go there in a second. And that wetland was destroyed in the construction process for the marina, putting in place the overpass to get into the marina, etc. So also what was happening was that sand and debris was coming down the McVicker Creek through erosion, blocking off the mouth. People have paddled a lot on Lake Superior, see these streams where the mouths of these streams get blocked off. A lot of that is just the beach sand. This was sand from upstream getting washed into the waterway and blocking off the mouth. So there were a couple of issues. So what they did was they did some bank stabilization in the creek and some terracing, gabion baskets. You'll see it when we get over there. And they also created this crescent-shaped island here to encourage it trapped the sediment, transported down the creek to some degree. It fostered development, growth of wetland habitat, and it also acts as a point for nursery, like they call it nursery habitat for young fish. And they're protected from the open waters. They may come out of the stream and they're in this little protected area right here. So that was the general idea. It was creation of wetland conditions.
Back in 2011, we were just starting to have a serious discussion about stormwater, and this water can pick up contaminants, can pick up sediments, or can be clean, and then it gets back into the streams and eventually into Lake Superior. In 2004, a study was done by the Ministry of Ontario that determined that stormwater is in fact affecting the beneficial use for the Thunder Bay area of concern. For McVicker Creek in 2010, we walked up the full creek. So myself and some summer students at Lakehead got hip waders on, and we walked up with our clipboards and we noted everything down from what the buffers look like. The buffers is the area between the water and the developed part of the watershed. So here the buffer looks really good. Is the shoreline, has the shoreline been hardened? Are there manicured lawns? Does the water smell bad? And we would look at every stormwater outfall to see if there's algae growing, what the smell was like, what the physical deterioration or the physical aspect of the outfall looked like, to see if there's a lot of acidity and stuff like that.
we are right beside Northern Wood Preservers, okay? And you know, most of you will remember that company name, correct? Okay? They treated lumber with creosote, especially big timbers, with creosote for things like railroad ties. That is what was done at this plant here. So this, where we are now, is a remnant wetland, okay? And you can see the wetland vegetation, and the water's 6 inches deep or something. And this area was encroached upon by the railway spur that they put into the elevator here, also by Northern Wood, who just kept backfilling sawdust and bark, etc., into this wetland. And so the wetland, which at one time was quite significant in size, gradually became smaller and smaller and smaller until it is basically what you see today and a bit beyond. So it's a remnant of what it was back in the day. And it's a good example of what has happened in this harbor over time through urbanization, industrialization. What's a significant value associated with the wetland? Can anybody?
It's habitat for a lot of
there you go. That's a really big one. Thank you. That's one. What else?
Purifying water.
Purifying water. Exactly. That's another really big one. Erosion protection in a lot of situations. It promotes biodiversity. Lake Superior, on this shore especially, doesn't have a lot of wetlands. So these little wetlands that remain are quite important, like the Mission Marsh that they've sort of revamped over the years. Those are important because they engender biodiversity which you wouldn't otherwise have, especially in an ecosystem like Lake Superior, sort of a cold water environment. The area around the Northern Wood pier, the factory was built on a big kind of a pier sticking out into Lake Superior. The soil, all of the soil on the pier was contaminated with creosote, and all of the lake around the pier was contaminated with creosote. They decided that it was one of the most toxic sites in Canada and that it needed to be cleaned up. It took years to finally get everybody at the table to say, let's do it. And what they did was initially they put a rock berm around in the lake around the area of highest contamination. So they had this square pier sticking out into the lake. They put a second square, a couple hundred meters offshore, around the pier where the industry was located. So you have a couple of hundred meters of water between the breakwall and the industry. They scooped it out. They infilled the lake in that area inside the rock berm. And so Buchanan's property increased in size substantially. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
We'll make sure that everybody gets back.
Thanks, man.
If you need further information, infosuperior.com, and we post a wide variety of news about Lake Superior. Okay, have a good paddle.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mark. Thanks
This is
everybody
great.
for coming.
Very well done.
Thank you.
They bring you down maybe 80 feet or so.
Oh,
Yeah.